Section P6, Trigonometric Functions. In pre-calculus, we learned that the function sine of x of an angle equals the length of the opposite side divided by the length of the hypotenuse. And we will review some of the basic property for the sine function. We need to memorize a special value, sine value for special angles. So they are angles 0 degree or 0 radian, 30 degree, so it's pi over 6, 45 degree, 60 degree, and 90 degree. To memorize the sine value for these angles, you can think of it as everything over 2, everything under square root, and then you count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So sine of 0 is 0, sine of pi over 6 is 1/2, sine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2, sine of pi over 3 is root 3 over 2, and sine of pi over 2 is 1. And to remember the special cosine values, you just write them in reverse order. So 1, root 3 over 2, root 2 over 2, 1 over 2, and 0. In order to graph the sine function, we will need the 5 number summary for the sine function. So it's at 0 degree, 90 degree, 180 degree, 270 degree, and 360 degree. So they are 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. And you can use a calculator to evaluate sine at those points. So sine of 0 is 0. So we have the point 0, 0. Sine of pi over 2, we get 1. So this is the point on the graph. Sine of pi, we get 0. Sine of 3 pi over 2, we get -1. So you can verify that in your calculator. And sine of 2 pi, we get 0. And then we just connect these 5 points with a smooth curve. And that's one period of sine function. And then we just make copy to get the rest of the graph. Similarly, we can do that for the cosine function. Again, we need the 5-point summary. Okay, so when x equals 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi, what are the values for the y? Use a calculator, you get 1, 0, -1, 0, and 1. So we plot those points on the graph. And we connect them with a smooth curve. And that's one period of cosine. We can make a copy and be able to finish the graph. Now, once we understand sine and cosine function well, we will be able to derive tangent, cotangent, secant, and cosecant because they are just fractions using sine and cosine. So I refer you to the table 6 of our textbook for more information. One thing you need to memorize is that the domain for sine and cosine function are both negative infinity to infinity, because you can take any value for the angle. And the range for these two functions is from -1 to 1 inclusive. As you see, these graphs are bounded by the number -1 and 1 in the y-axis.